Hello, 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 and welcome back. You are tuning into another episode of the ParentCamp Podcast. I am April Draine, and today I am doing a solo dolo with the wonderful, the one, the only, Miss Julie Pyle. How are you today, Julie?
I am awesome, April, and I'm going to throw that back at you, the one and only April Grade.
I like the solo dolos. I like to be able to be one-on-one, and then of course we get this season different voices. But it's always great to be able to do the one-on-ones, and you get to hear the personalities of those we're interviewing. And today, Julie and we're talking about seeing in others what they don't see in themselves. So, Julie, you came up with this topic. You do an awesome job of pointing out or seeing people in certain settings. Ooh, words, April. Before you know it, they're in these spaces where they're doing these most awesome and amazing things. At least for themselves, they feel like, I don't know how I got here. And one connection that I can always point back to is, did you meet Julie? Was it Julie? So I have a question before we go into the how and the why we got to this topic. Was there someone who poured into you the way that you seem to seamlessly do it, so effortlessly do it? Something that you can go back and point to, say, because of this or because of this person or because of this moment or because of this feeling, this is why I do what I do for others when it comes to seeing in others what they don't see in themselves.
Oh, that's a really good question. There's multiple people who were really, I have been blessed with multiple mentors throughout my
there
life.
you go. Okay.
Yeah. So, and it even goes back to my mom, who was one who always saw the best in people and was always inclusive and smiled. When I was working first out of college, many people don't know it, but I'm a CPA by trade. So I'm very, I guess would be right-brained. So people think it's funny that I'm in this touchy-feely world, but well, my background is really more systematic. So I had a fantastic mentor. His name was Bill Patterson. Took me under his wing when I first had my very first job at Marathon Oil in Findlay, Ohio. Taught me the value of networking. He would tease, he had networking 101 classes with me. I had a mentor would have been like my third job. I was in higher education. We had president of our community college, Charlotte Lee, who she taught me, and this is a weird saying, and some people might think it's weird. There's more than one way to skin a cat.
I always wonder about that saying, but yeah, I get it though. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And so she taught me there's never a barrier. It's just, you have to figure out the way around the barriers to get done. There's always a way to do something. So I would say like those have been like my biggest mentors. And I always appreciated that they had seen in me and built into me and invested in me. And I always wanted to do that for others. So like I have been a manager, have had many employees. I mean, at one point when I was at the community college, I had 100 employees.
Oh, wow. That's a new fact I didn't know. Okay.
Yeah. And I always tell people your job as a manager is not for your comfort and to keep employees underneath you. Your job as a manager is to build on people, to build into them so they can move onward and upward.
Wow. I like it.
Yes. So it's like your success should be based on other people's leaving you and moving on and additional success, like success in their lives. That's what I consider success.
Okay. I can see on that, but I'm appreciative of you just sharing even that much, even from a managerial standpoint, and the thought that it's not just about how successful I look, but those who are connected to me as we build, I'm building or I'm investing in them, and how those who are connected to me, who are tied to me and my team, how well they are, I also feel just as successful as them. So very interesting. Right. But like I said, I'm glad you answered that question because it ties so much into the topic of what we're talking about. But I'm like, I need to ask her this initially because, again, when I met you, it was really from afar. I met you virtually through Sipple. It was a class that was starting, and I saw your face, and I don't think you were able to participate in that particular group or that session or something. I think you were running for a board position. So I didn't see your face again, but then I saw you at an in-person parent camp. And I was like, wait, is that the same lady? And so I saw your face several times in different settings. And I'm trying to think, it was parent camp. Yeah, it was just a virtual parent camp that I signed up for.
Yeah.
And I started to see how you and Laura interacted, and I saw how natural parent camp seemed to just flow, the conversations. It wasn't this big presentation, and it was like, oh, I like her. And then I started following you on Facebook. So it was kind of like a slow, I'm kind of intrigued by her. And so by the time that we interacted via Facebook, I think through Messenger, it was about you went to a Michael Jackson musical, I think it was.
Oh, yeah.
And I was like, wait, so it was just slowly but surely you putting out a little bit about yourself on social media, or I saw you in person, or I saw how you responded on virtual parent camp. And then I just out the blue asked you, how did you get a ticket to that Broadway play? And I've been trying to go, and you just casually mentioned. And then we ended up catching up and meeting in person. And it was kind of like, how did I get here? I don't know how I met this lady, but she seemed to be just like, yeah. And you were so open. And that was in September, October of 23 is when I officially met you in person. And in that conversation is when you did what we're about to talk about now. You started to speak things into me, or see things or say things about me that I'm like, wait, I've been watching you. I think you just met me, but you seem to be intuitive enough to speak certain things that actually resonate with me, that don't seem like it's a lot of fluff. It seems like, wait, I feel that about myself, but you just met me and you're saying some of the things that I'm kind of like, I want to be more involved, but kind of figuring it out. And you just open up a door like, hey, so your IT background, well, why don't you try this with us? This is what we're trying to do. Let's see what happens. I'm like, okay. That didn't quite work out. Before I knew it, I'm facilitating a parent camp session in November. So I was like, how did I get here? And it goes back to what we're talking about. You saw something and you spoke it so genuinely, so authentically. And I've been in those spaces. And so I'm if anything, let me start off by saying thank you, because you did what others did for you and what others have done for me. But it was unique for me that I did not have any relationship with you. It wasn't someone introduced me to you and said, you and Julie will kick it off. It was just, it's something about her. Let me just watch her. I'm still watching her. I'm interacting with her. Okay. And she still seems the same on screen as she does off screen. Are there stories or persons or situations that you can probably just share with our listeners that kind of speak to what we're talking about right now, you seeing in others what people saw in you, and so their interaction, their involvement with parent camp from some aspect?
It gives me a rush to, spark that in another person. Like, to me, it's
really,
yes. That's how I get my highs, is seeing other people, seeing in them, and then them like finally realize, oh, maybe I can really do that. It's like, yes, you can. Yes, like being a cheerleader kind of thing. Yeah, like we actually officially started like 8 years ago. And I want to say it's this month that we officially formed. There are so many stories, because I thoroughly believe in the energy of the universe. Like, people's paths cross for a reason. Like your and my path has crossed for a reason. We may not know it at the very first time when we meet or have a conversation. It'll eventually reveal itself. And you might try different things, but that's okay. So there's just so many stories. So like in the very, very beginning, I would do just here in our region, an in-person parent camp. And it was all parents from all the school districts. So we're in Northern Kentucky. So there's a lot of school districts. But when it boils down to things, we're all in the same boat. Like as parents, we're all dealing with the same thing. Doesn't matter what school district you're in. So we had this one parent camp. It was at Beechwood High School. And a person who I'd crossed paths with a couple times, kind of like you, kind of crossed paths different places. Her name was Jenny, and her kids were in middle school. And she came to this parent camp, and we had all different kinds of sessions. There was ones, about learning about the system, educational system, because to most parents, the educational system is like completely foreign concept. I have no idea. There's so many acronyms used, and oh my gosh. And so she knew she wanted to be involved. She had twins, but she didn't know how. And that's the biggest thing for parents, if you're out or anybody outside the education system. Where do you
Those two
start?
questions. Yep.
Like, so if you don't know how, what do people usually do? Nothing. You just kind of stay in where you. So she was real curious and came out to the parent camp, because parent camps are for people to connect, build relationships, build support, get to know a new person, share experiences. We don't ask for any kind of commitment, which a lot of times, like PTAs or parent organizations, if you go to a meeting, people are looking to you to make a commitment. You've walked in the door, so now what are you going to get to sign up for? Kind of thing. Which is too bad, because they want to be involved. A lot of parents want to be involved, but they don't go to those type of meetings because they don't want to get roped in. They don't want to make a commitment for something they don't really know what the dynamics are of a group.
Okay, continue.
Yeah. So this parent, Jenny, came to the parent camp, and she attended a number of different sessions and learned about different things. And when she walked out, she went back to her kid's school. It was the time of year where the parent organization was doing their officer elections. She ended up running for president of her parent organization, became president for a number of years, did fantastic things there. And she also ran for, here in Kentucky, we have local controls through site-based decision-making councils. April, you're on the one at your school. And so she ran for SBDM, which is what we call, that's the acronym for it, and got on.
Wow. And
so she, just from that little bit of knowledge and encouragement, because she was asking questions about different things, and I'm like, oh, you very easily could do this. This is, here's some tidbits and suggestions, kind of thing. Here's where you find more information. And we ended up becoming pretty good friends. We would go to lunch. We'd actually go to a couple Pritchard events together. We'd ride in the car. We joked that, we were probably sisters at one point in time in some life, because we had a lot of things in common. And so our superintendent had retired. We were looking for a new superintendent in our school district. And by that point, I was on our school board. And when there is, in Kentucky law, it's required for the selection committee to have parent representation. And she ended up applying and being one of the parents on the selection committee for the new superintendent. So it's starting with that, that little step foot in the door to a parent camp, and look how far it goes, type thing. And so to me, that's really cool to see people develop and grow and get involved and finding where their niches are. We all have that place where we have a niche, and that's where we really thrive and grow. And everybody's is different. That's what makes this world work, is we all don't have our own, all have the same niches.
See, that's another thing that in the hearing, just Jenny's trajectory with starting at parent camp and then feeling empowered enough to just, at least, and being new to Kentucky, feeling empowered enough just from interacting through parent camp, not feeling the pressure of, hey, what are they trying to rope me into? If anything, it was just, no, not trying to rope you into anything, but you could very well do this, and this if those are areas that you're interested in. These are some areas in your schools that you could probably look into. I'm appreciative of ParentCamp in that regard because her story sounds similar to mine in that regard, from feeling empowered enough to like, let me just go back to my school. Like ParentCamp is like a hub in a way. It's like, hey, you can get all this information. You can meet other people. You can feel empowered. You don't have to commit anything to us. If anything, just take your empowerment, your knowledge that you got from us. Now go out there and see what you want to do out there. And that's what I felt. I felt from interacting with you and ParentCamp and networking with those parents that I met several times in person and then on virtual ParentCamp, to become involved with SBDM and then eventually working with the superintendent. Just the fact that her story sounds similar to mine in that ParentCamp was not this area of pressure. It was an area of, hey, we have knowledge, we have information. If anything, here, just various topics, pick a room, and you don't even have to stay committed to the room. If you think you got what you need out of that room, hey, feel free to walk out and go to another room. All of that is freeing. And ParentCamp did a great job with that. And just even to hear with Jenny, and I'm sure others that you can probably tell us about. And we know for our listeners, there are so many stories that we won't even try to put all into one episode, but we definitely want to at least mention several, maybe from different vantage points. But I'm grateful for Jenny. And it also goes back to you and Laura. You all did a great job and do a great job of creating that space, that environment. And I like how you mentioned that there are some spaces that parents do want to show up. They want to show up for the PTA meetings and they want to show up to be volunteers. But before I show up one meeting and at the end of the meeting, it's a paper in my face. Hey, you want to be a part of this? Give me a minute. I just want to learn more about what's involved, what's expected. Yeah, I'm grateful that you brought her story up and even mentioning maybe we can take some of the pressure off parents, just the fact that they showed up. Obviously, there's an interest, and maybe we just create the culture where, like the Motel 6, if you turn the light on, no, we'll leave the light on for you, and I'm also thinking Field of Dreams. If you build it, they'll come. I'm sorry. So Motel 6 and Field of Dreams is just what came to my mind. Anywho.
Those two things.
But I love it, though. I love it. So that's a story or a point from seeing something. She might have seen it in herself, but it was just in her situation. She's new to the area. So do you have probably an example or a story of someone who was already involved, but maybe they pivoted? Maybe they started off in one lane and just, hey, I didn't think I could do that too until I saw the opportunity. I'm interested in any story that you can mention at this point.
Well, actually, when you mentioned that reminds me of my very good friend, Paula.
Okay.
So Paula was raising her grandson at the same elementary school where my children. And I tell you, when I'm a grandparent, I want to be Paula.
Oh,
like she is the coolest
Okay.
grandparent there is. And we ended up becoming really good friends. She went through SIPL the year after me. I recruited her into SIPL, which is the Commonwealth Institute for Parent Leadership through Pritchard, which you're going to find like a lot of like, especially in Kentucky, a lot of ties back to Pritchard because they have a lot of great programs that, help parents and community members become engaged. So Paula and I were at the school, and she's got a great sense of humor, kind of dry. But we became connected. One of the things, kind of going back to that, not quite sure, give me a minute to breathe and check things out. When I was PTA president, we had a rule that whenever somebody new or somebody walked in the door, you walked up and introduced yourself and you asked them their name. And then you always referred to them by their name. So that way people felt welcome. And when we had meetings or events, board members were not allowed to sit with each other. They had to go sit with people they did not.
Okay.
Because you want everybody to feel welcome. And if all the same people are sitting next to each other all the time, you immediately start feeling those divisions. And so that was very purposeful. So anyway, so Paula was at the elementary school, and she was starting to get involved and engage, part of it through her project with going through SIPL and things. And at the same time at the school, our drama teacher, Jack Dell, started a program called Meant to Be. It's MEN, the number 2 B.
Okay.
B. And so it was adults who wanted to get involved in children's lives, who the children didn't have a group of adults around to lean and support on. The saying is every kid needs 5 adults that they can lean on in their lives. Okay. And so they started this mentoring program, and Chad ended up leaving the school. His passion is pastoring. He's been a pastor at a church and kind of has done some other things. And so they needed somebody to take over this program. And Paula had been a mentor for a number of years for a young woman or a little girl. And so I go to Paula. I said, why not? You can do this. I mean, you're very in tune to people. You can read people really well. Like, if they're there for the right intentions or not. And so she ended up taking over the program, and it still today continues. Now, keep in mind, my daughter's now 20 years old, and this is when she was in elementary school. Paula is still mentoring that same young woman, still takes her out. She's graduated from high school, does things with her, and has taken on 2 or 3 other kids. And so, if you can make a difference in a child's life, to let them have that connection with somebody who they know they can lean on is really, really important.
So in this case, it wasn't just that you saw something in Paula. Paula was already doing something where she was giving back to someone younger than her, another child, and poured into her by pointing something out. Hey, there's an opportunity that I think you'll be great for. That she was already doing it, but this was a more established, a mentoring group, or what was meant to be considered.
I guess it would be considered a mentoring group.
Okay.
So the way it works is a child gets matched up with an adult. Paula meets with both of them because she wants to have the right match. So there's times kids might wait a little bit before they get a mentor because she's trying to find the right mentor for that child. It's not just hey, let's put these 2 together. It's very purposeful matching.
Purposeful matching. I don't know why that's standing out to me. Purposeful. Yeah. Because again, it's going back to seeing something in someone else. You have to have that relational equity. And even with you mentioning the PTA, when you were a PTA president, if you want to have people feel engaged or empowered enough to even want to engage, you have to create the space. You have to be purposeful. You have to know something about them. Even if it's just, I notice that you show up consistently, even if it's just you're a small thing, and to point that out. So for Paula to not only be a grandmother who's already raised or was raising her grandchild, but now saying, hey, there is another student here at the school. I want to be one of those 5 impactful people that you mentioned, that children need at least 5 adults to make some type of impact, positive impact in that child's life. And she was already doing it with 1, and there was already something set up at the same school. And so she was able to switch, not necessarily tap into something different. She was already doing it for 1, but now she gets to do it for more. So that's a great example there of seeing something not just in 1 student, but hey, I can do this for others. And I can see in other potential mentors, hey, you have this that would definitely match with this particular child who could benefit. It's just like the gift that keeps on giving. It just keeps on giving. I love it. I love it. I love it. Oh my goodness. So we have Jenny, who was new to Kentucky. She wasn't sure the how or the why, the how or the where. She knew why, but she didn't know how or where to start. ParentCamp gave her the opportunity to get some information and feel empowered enough to go back to her kids' schools. And then we have with Miss Paula, who's already in the school. She's already raised her, or helping to raise her grandchild, helping other students in the school system, and still doing it today. Go Paula. Shout out to Paula. Give me one more. I'm sorry. I know the power of 3. I know we said the power of 5, but the power of 3. Give me one more that you can think of for at least today's episode. There'll always be stories, ladies and gentlemen, that we can bring up. Loads of them.
Gosh, lots of stories. Lots of stories. Probably have 100 episodes on all these stories. But going to the power of threes, did you know that when you plant flowers, you're supposed to plant them in threes?
Wait, Julie, I was playing. Okay, did we just do that? Did we just wait? What? Wait, really?
Yep, you're supposed to plant them in threes, not odd numbers, not even numbers.
Seriously, I've never. Okay, why?
Because the symmetry of when you look at them when they're blooming.
Oh, duly noted. Okay.
I'm a gardener.
All the many things that you do so well. Okay.
I love my flowers.
So the power of three, you plant. Okay, I like that. Okay.
So the last story is actually will probably lead into another episode to air sometime. So it is comes out of one of our schools in Delaware. It's our dual immersion school. So the kids go to school half day in Spanish, half day in English, and then football.
I like that.
Which I love. It's a very cool school, and what they're doing is incredible, and the community that they're building is incredible. So we have a parent there. Her name is Maz.
We love Maz.
Yeah, we love Maz. Yes, we love Maz. So Maz was on the team, their parent camp team, and planning parent camps. And she's also, I believe, president of the parent organization there, or she's heavily involved in the parent organization. Loves parent camps, and she has facilitated. She's done a number of things there at the school. She's like she's a master of organization. Like make sure it's everything's tied together. Everything looks beautiful at the school and stuff. I mean, she spends hours there. Like she helps in the library all the time and things. So we love Maz. So Maz is heavily involved. So Maz has been participating in parent camp. She's been trained as a facilitator. She does sessions at their parent camps. She does sessions at our virtual parent camp. So I think we had been working with the school probably 9 months or so, and Maz reached out and she said, "Hey, I want to do more parent camp. I really, really believe in parent camps." And at that time, our national virtual parent camp coordinator got a full-time job and wasn't going to be able to do it anymore. And I'm like, Mash, you would be perfect for this. And I'm like, because of her organization, she's not afraid to reach out to people. She's very personal. If you haven't talked to Maz, she's got a British accent. She's like, yeah, I'd love to do it. So she, since that time, has been coordinating our parent camps. She even does the images, writes the bios and things up for everybody. And she wanted to be, more involved in this because she believes in it. She actually, when she looks for schools for her kids, she checks to see if they're parent camp schools now.
Wow. Wait. Let's let that simmer for a minute. Okay. There's a standard here now. Are they parent camp schools?
Yes. So whenever a school holds their very first parent camp, at the end of the night, we give them a banner. And it's a big 3x6 outdoor banner for them to put up. And it says an official trained partner school, parent camp partner school.
I love it.
And so that's, something that the schools can tout, saying, we are serious about connecting with families and with parents and empowering. So Maz is there in Delaware, and, she's raising her kids and things. Well, now we have some new schools coming on in Delaware. We've got 3 new schools coming on in August, and we needed coaches. And we wanted to start building our coach capability in Delaware, because right now most of our coaches travel from other places. And as we've been working in schools, it kind of goes back to seeing things in people. We're kind of keeping an eye on parents who we would like to tap into the coaches of the additional schools we bring up. I reached out to Maz and said, Maz, do you want to start coaching schools? I said, you're perfect because you've been on a team. You know how it goes. You're heavily entrenched in parent camp. She's like, yes. So she's going to be coach of 2 of the schools.
LOVE it.
Yeah. So, kind of growing your own, type thing. So, and she's going to be fantastic.
Of course she is.
But you guys all will get to know Maz in a future episode because we'll have all of our coaches on.
It's just the gift again that it just keeps on giving. It just keeps giving when you bring it to their attention or someone else brings it to their attention. Like, hey, you're doing this. You could do this. It's not with pressure. It's, hey, I see that you're gifted in this area, or people respond to you when you do X, Y, and Z, and you seem to do it from a genuine place where it's not a place of pressure. Have you considered? And so on an episode that you all would hear from Laura and I, we mentioned the packaging. Sometimes there is a gift that we all have. And sometimes we get so caught up in the mundaneness of let me just get this information in this particular package, but it's the way you wrap that gift. It's the way you present that gift. And there's a lot of personality that we can wrap around the information that we present to people. So I appreciate you, Julie, one, coming up with this topic, because it is really like your middle name.
Yeah. So just a funny story to go back, because it really goes back to connection, just being connected. So on spring break, my husband and son and I went on a cruise for spring break. And we were sitting the night before down in Florida. And my son, who's very analytical, was trying to calculate what's the probability that I might run into somebody who I know on the cruise on this cruise. Because Boone County was on spring break, and how many people could they have on the cruise, and how many students and parents potentially in Boone County, blah, blah, blah. So it got down to, he's like, okay, the probability is not very high. He goes, I don't think you're going to. So my husband then says, I'll take that bet.
Do they not know Julie? Do they not know you, Julie?
He should have known me. He should have. And at some point, I'll share the stories with you. But it ended up being 3 people.
Of course. The power of 3. There we go again. But yeah, of course, Julie.
Yep.
You meet 3 people on a cruise out of Florida in the middle of the water.
On the same boat.
But again, it goes back to you, though. You have that intentionality, and it goes back to, you mentioned your mother and other great mentors. Mm-hmm. It's just really people being intentional and purposeful. It's not rocket science. It may require a little bit of vulnerability, but it just requires you getting outside of your box for you to go from my mom who believed in me, or to people who saw certain gifts in me, or who just, hey, there's this networking event, or let me just show you how. You already have this. Mm-hmm. This may be one missing piece that could very well be beneficial. I have the piece. Here, let me just share it with you. And that piece becomes part of this big puzzle.
Exactly.
And sometimes you don't know that you're part of a picture until someone says, hey, we've been missing this. And you seem like those corners fit this area, and you would really fit in this spot right here, part of this big picture. And even like you mentioned with you and I, when we initially met, we thought maybe the IT route with ParentCamp, and then it just pivoted into something else after something else after something else to where we are now. So it's okay to just take your time and not rush people, but just trust that, hey, you keep catching my eye for a reason. You keep showing up to this ParentCamp. You have a gift, and you just seem to have this quiet knack of bringing people in just by you being you. So the power of just seeing in people, or seeing in others, what they may know about themselves, but they just probably need someone else to call it out. You do a great job of that. And I'm grateful for the stories of Jenny and Paula and Maz and so many others that we'll be hearing on so many more episodes, as well as hearing directly from the schools that are a part of ParentCamp. And I like the fact that you all, it doesn't take a lot for them to be a ParentCamp school. They get a banner to say, hey, and it's no big commitment. It's just to say they showed up, and you showing up. This is our symbol of saying, hey, we like you, and you never know what can come of it. So, Julie, I've enjoyed this.
Yeah, it's fun.
Something that you want to leave our listeners with before we wrap up with today's episode?
I think you had one really good word, vulnerable. In order to build relationships, you have to be vulnerable, and you have to be authentic. So like when somebody looks me up on social media, you know who I am, because who I am on social media is who I am in person. Don't try to be somebody who you're not. Just
be you. And in you being you, someone else may see something in you that says, hey, would you like to be a part of what we're doing? Yeah.
Exactly.
Julie, this has been awesome. I've enjoyed you, as always.
I told you this. I was excited.
Rightfully so. Again, this is your middle name. You do this so well. We all have the power to be able to show up in powers of 3s or in power of 1. If you can just point it out in someone, you never know what seed you're planting and where it will show up. And continue to listen. We have more episodes coming, and we hope that you visit. Julie, give them the website that they can be able to follow ParentCamp and any other social media sites that you would like for them to be able to check into or follow ParentCamp.
Absolutely. So our website is www.ParentCamp, ParentCamp.org, or you can find us on Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, and Instagram.
Awesome.
But be sure you sign up for our newsletter
Yes.
from our website, because it's just chock full of all kinds of great things for parents and educators. And I had someone, well, actually, one of my, if I were to fangirl, this is my fangirl. I had dinner with Ann Henderson, who was one of the co-authors of Beyond the Bake Sale. And she told me she reads the newsletter because she has her grandchildren in the house with her, and she has used some of the information from the newsletter with her grandchildren.
Oh, okay. If you all have listened to the first episode at this point as our listeners, if not, you can go back and find it. Beyond the Bake Sale. Yes. So yes, if you were able to hear, that says a lot. Go fangirl moment. Awesome. Yes. But that's great. So for our listeners, again, Julie's mentioned all the ways that you can connect with Parent Camp or follow or hear what Parent Camp is doing. And again, we hope that you've enjoyed this episode, and stay tuned. We have more to come. Until next time, have a great one.